GNU, and I know it's too early. I was listening to JJ Taban, and he was like, "Guys, don't get your horses high. It's
There's so much that can
way
happen.
too
It's so
early
we're still like
to see anything." But
we haven't even finished the year.
who do you think has hit the ground rounding in terms of the ministries? Like, which ministry do you feel like this one is heading towards the right direction?
In terms of answering that, it's going to be difficult because I'll have to start with my boss and say, "No, we've we've hit the ground running."
Yeah.
But I think let's give it to the Minister of Electricity.
Okay.
Because I mean, there were things we could point out.
Yeah.
We've seen the turnaround.
Yeah.
And it's still too early. So on others, we can't really, because people are also taking over things that they were running.
Yeah.
Look, the ANC won elections, but it's like passing at school. If you don't get 50...
The LG passing.
Yes, you get it. So it's the same thing.
Hey, it's your boy Cough, man. I'm out here in Cape Town. Later, Barcelona, Macho in a pole. South Africa, man. It's yet another episode of the Black Couch Podcast. Namgelegile. Welcome. Afrikaans and better was Cape Town. But shout out to everyone who's subscribed on our YouTube channel. And shout out to everyone who's following us on Facebook and also Instagram at the Mayhem TV. Shout out to Ikeja for sponsoring this episode. Check them out at www.ikeja.co.za. Uye kuhlale masomali and bafethu kuyabanda for that hotspot. Get yours right now. It's only 350 rands per month. There's some great news, man. We're going back to sports content next month. The sports is coming back. So Mfundo Mbali will be at actually this month. Mfundo Mbali will be at Cape Town Stadium on the 27th of August. It's gonna be Cape Town City versus Orlando Pirates. We're gonna be doing content over there. And shout out to everyone who has watched and liked the content that we shot at Stellenbosch at Amazing, our first live audience podcast, man. It was super amazing. Again, thank you to Amazing Unplugged and thank you to the Kasi Mayhem TV team, man. You guys were so amazing. And for the episode Yanamhlanje, we have another incredible woman. We're celebrating women throughout this month, man. And Usiswam, I love to call her Usiswam. Usis Vovo, and formerly known as Uvuyokazi,
yes.
Malafu.
Oh, you know that. Okay, listen.
Come on. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I was telling you along the way that, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I think adulthood. I never thought I'd get to the point where I'm such an adult, you know. But I'm good. Health-wise, I'm still fine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of going to the gym.
Yeah.
I've been gaining a lot of weight, but those things come with age. But I think I'm aging gracefully.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the space that I'm in. Always busy, always working, but beyond that, I'm busy building my future. I'm just securing that bag each and every day.
Yeah, I think one thing about you, you are super beautiful, and I would probably think you're 29.
Yeah,
if I didn't know you.
Yeah.
So you taking good care of yourself. What can you say? Like it's how's the experience in terms of your age group and where you are right now in your life?
So I'm a late bloomer.
Yeah.
So I've always realized that about myself. I'm a late bloomer. It's like even with dating, I started dating very late.
Yeah.
So I've never been someone who's in a rush to succeed. I think a while back, Usivu said to me when I was like, Sivu, I'm at this point in my life right now. And he was like, but you've always been at that point. Never mind the money, never mind, but you've always understood, that there was so much more to you. And so for me, I take my journey as my own journey. I understand that I'm someone who's destined for greatness. That one I never shy away from. But I understand as well that if you have a greater future and if there's so much expected from you, there are bound to be bigger obstacles along the
Yeah.
way. So I've never been anyone who's in competition with anyone, like I said. And God has a way of just catapulting you to where you are supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think a year or 2 years from now, I was at a very low space, I guess, in terms of career wise and how I expected myself to be at a certain age. But within just a year or two, I was at the same level as my peers. So there was never an issue that I was left behind
Yeah.
because I was just catapulted to where I was supposed to be. So I'm at that point now whereby I feel like I'm on the same path and level as my peers, but I want to do more. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's still so much more that I still need to do. I take good care of myself. That is, I'm taking collagen now. So
Okay.
I'm giving the secret out. So I take my collagen supplements. I want to go to the gym now and do some Zumba. But I watch what I eat. I'm very specific on how I eat. I've stopped eating pork
Okay.
because of spiritual reasons.
Okay.
So yeah, I think this will be my second year not eating pork.
Wow,
It's
congratulations.
yeah, and you know how I love pork, I love bacon, but I had to teach myself some discipline that look,
Yeah.
if you feel, for me, I feel like it blocks a lot of things. I don't know other people's experience of it, but I've just realized that in that space of not eating pork, I've seen some progress, and I'm not saying people shouldn't eat it,
Yeah.
but I've just taken that conscious decision not to eat pork.
I can relate. For me, it's more than 12 years.
Without eating I can't.
It's more than 12 years.
My boss is a vegetarian,
Yeah.
which I always find, and I'm always like, I'm Xhosa, right?
Yeah.
So meat is our number one
Yeah.
thing.
Also, I'm like 1 year, 8 months without marijuana.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
And how has that been?
It's been great. It's different, but I think I'm forever high.
Yes, I think you get to understand your natural high.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we use so many things.
Yeah.
Like I don't drink, you know that I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I've always felt like I'm someone who's always had a natural high.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you've taken that step.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know people who use marijuana are just loving it.
Yeah, yeah.
And apparently it has calming effects.
Yeah, it has a lot of effects.
Yes.
That's
So-
one of them.
Yeah, so yeah, okay. No, I for me, I think I'm a health fanatic, although I'm not that extreme.
Yeah.
But I'm very conscious about what I take into my body. But also, this is my temple. This
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
only
yeah.
body I have.
Yeah.
So I've got to take good care of it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of having a child as well.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My biological clock is ticking.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, like I was telling you, I'm really on an adulting
Yeah,
journey.
yeah. I love it, man. It sounds exciting and it sounds well planned, and I just wish you all the best in terms of that. I just wanna. You said something about 2 years back, and I think it might be 2 years back or 3 years back when I was introduced to you. And I think it was at Book Joint, at Lumkela's Book Joint
Yes, yes, yes.
in Guguletu. And you're such an open person. Like, you're very warm, very welcoming, and very sweet, and you are so well articulated and sharing. Like, I remember I was Kukuzela so much, like, for us to have something, even if it's very small. But
Yes.
you always wanted the best for every youngin that was there. Like, where would you say you have that from, and how it has added value in your life?
Oh, so people that I first meet, they always say I've got a beautiful soul. And for the longest time, I never understood because I don't see that beauty. That's the other disadvantage about it. But most people that I've come across will say, "Oh no, but you've got such a beautiful soul." But some of the attacks and some of the tribulations and the jealousy that I went through, at some point, I felt like I wanted to take away, that beauty, because I felt that as much as if you're a good person and you're able to see a beautiful soul in someone else, other people will see that beautiful soul, but sometimes it will not come across in that way. It will not make them happy. People are going through their own things, their own demons, it will shake them. But I've come to embrace that. And I think because I'm a spiritual person, I'm someone who really owns my spirituality. I grew up as a born again Christian at home. And so Christ was my life and God was my everything. And then as I was growing up, I discovered even traditional spirituality, which is a space that I also embraced. But I think also being so good and confident in yourself, you're able to do that to other people. That's why they say you can't give something that you don't have. So if you don't have love for yourself, you can't give love to other people. So I think in general, I'm blessed to be someone who's a builder, but I'm also able to encourage other people. And maybe it's from home. I've got a loving and very, very supportive mother. In fact, I think one day I'll write a book and I will call it Indombika Viola. 'Cause my mother's name is Uviola. So I always complain about her. She likes money a lot. you know. But she's my first best friend. And there's no one who has loved me, supported me, and encouraged me like that woman.
Yeah.
And that's all I know. So that is all I'm going to give to the world. In my adulthood, I then rekindled my relationship with my father, which was as a result of my traditional issues. So something strange happened. I used to have issues with my father because he was not present.
Yeah.
But he used to pay maintenance money. But for me, I felt like he needed to be home.
Yeah.
So this one time I met this lady at the touch. And this lady says to me, "Hey, why are you having issues with your father?" And this was not the first time, right?
Yeah.
So I say, "Okay." And then she says, "Don't enter things that have nothing to do with you." Hey, then I went to my mom. I was like, "Girl, did you and my father fight? Because you guys always had a good relationship." Then my mother was like, "No, we've always been fine. You are the one who's always had an issue." But through that situation, my relationship and my father just blossomed like that. And I've seen my father in his marriage because he's married. And I've seen how he is such a supportive partner, such a calm person, such a carefree, spirited man. And when I look back at some of my attributes, I think there's some attributes from him.
Okay.
And there's some things that I've taken from him. He was a very smart man. Loves English. So my mother would always tease me and say, "Oh, you and your father." So there are those things that I think I got them from home.
Okay.
It's the environment that I grew up in that made me to be this open, loving, and supportive person that I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a great insight because I'm one of those people who never had a relationship with their pops. Yeah. And for me, I always felt like I don't care much for someone who never cared.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. You'll be like I was always saying. You'll be so shocked when you look at the mirror in the mirror and you're like, "Yay, I am my father's daughter." And also from him, I think what humbles me the most is how proud he is of me. And he's always like, "I remember you as this shy young lady, but now I see you so confident and so giving." There are things about me that he finds them so surprising. But when I look at his life, I don't think he realizes that that's him.
Yeah.
He shared something with me. My father was a lecturer. So they used to lecture teachers at a teacher's college. And he said to me, you know, my child, if there's any lessons I can give you, even in your old age, never stay where you are not happy. So he said, I don't care even if it's a job that's paying you hundreds of rands, even if it's a relationship, but never stay where you are not happy. So he was explaining to me of how he loved the education space. And I remember we used to fight about this. My mother took me to private schools and he was anti that thing. And I was like, Kaibo, doesn't this man want me to have a good education? So he says to me, you know, your mother always took you to these schools and we used to fight about it because your mother is a teacher. And the only reasons they did that was because they knew the type of education they were giving to other kids. And that's why they were taking you guys to different schools. And I thought I was teaching her a lesson that if they worked hard in the government schools, there'll be no need. And he speaks about how he was then changed to be a specialist in how to help other teachers, you know, subject advisors, how to help them how to teach at school. And some of those people, I think, were undermining him. And it was his worst time. And he said he was never that depressed because he was doing something that he loves, but for people who just did not appreciate it, and not appreciating it in the sense that they just wanted to undermine because they felt they were better. And I think for him, that was one painful story about his career that he loved so much, because I think he gave his life to teaching. And it's amazing how my parents were all in education.
She's a busy person, guys. So
sorry.
I'm even lucky to even get time from her. She's super busy.
I'm going to put it on vibrate just so that if it's important people, then I can take.
Okay. Awesome. I think that's our segue to formalities. Because I'm sure people are wondering, okay,
who am I?
who is she? Like, where is she? Like, where are you involved? I know you're in politics, but I don't know also where you are exactly. What's your office?
What am I doing right now?
Yeah.
So, I'm a gender activist.
Okay.
And I'm a leader. I never like the politician type of term. And a friend of mine, she's Dr. Tabile. She owns a school. She runs a school called Molom Shaba. I don't know if you've heard of a school. No. There's a school called Molom Shaba in Harare for girls. And they're using a Montessori system to teach the kids. So she was telling me that at some point, she gave me good lessons. She said to me, you must be able to find yourself outside politics and to define yourself outside politics. You must be able to define yourself outside the ANC or whatever party you find yourself in. So from that day, I got thinking and I realized I want to be known as a feminist and as a gender activist. Because for me, that is my niche and that's what I'm comfortable with. I'm currently working in the presidency, in the Ministry of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. So that's our department. So we deal with planning, but also monitoring municipalities. Something like that. So we have those other things that we do. Recently, we are also now managing SOEs. I'm sure you've heard there's been stories about SOEs because we no longer have the Department of, where was Pravin Gordon, DPE. So now we are also managing that entity. So it has become a huge department, by the way. So I'm in the presidency. So that's why you'll see me with a red badge. So in Parliament, I have a red badge. But I'm also a PC member of the ANC. Hey, so much happened. So I'm a provincial leader of the ANC. And then recently, I'm also a task team member of the South African Youth Council, as
Wow.
old as I am, because we were just asked to assist in
Yeah.
rebuilding the structure, to leave it in good hands, to make sure that at least in the Western Cape there's some activation. And I think it speaks to what I've always wanted. You know, in Western Cape, we are one province that does not have a lot of support structures.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, in other provinces, you'll have South African youth councils that are funded by mayors and premiers, that are a group of young individuals with organizations doing different things. And you find that even those progressive women's forum, you don't find them in the Western Cape. So I think for me, that's one thing I'd like to do. You know, if you go to Johannesburg, you'll find supporting structure for women, and I think that's my dream. If I were ever to build something, an empire, would be to build a structure for women that support women initiatives. I mean, if we continue to operate in silos, right, there's not much that we can do. I think even at the book joint, I've had one event, an August event, together with Tabisa, that wanted to build something like that, where we brought across women who are doing certain things and different things and in different spaces. But I think we need a lot of those spaces, because we need to share experiences. We need to know, where do you go if you need, you know, certain things. So I think for me, that's my activism.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I love youth, by the way, because I enjoyed my youth so much.
Yeah.
I'm always encouraging youth activism, and I'm sure today I'm called because there's some new youth structure in the ANC that has been appointed.
Yeah.
So from time to time, I'll get people asking for advice to say, okay, how do we navigate the space? And also, how do do I need to speak to certain individuals, because I'm able to speak to people.
Yeah.
And at some point, I remember Umusi was asking, what is it that you are good at, but you didn't think it was your thing? And it's politics.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, it's surprising how I'm so calculative, how I'm able,
Yeah.
this morning a friend of mine was calling me at, hey, Chada, but you can play chess, ne? Politically. You've managed to bring this one and this one together. And so it's never something I thought I'd be so good at.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing that it's something I'm good at,
Yeah.
So I've always really wanted to be in an NGO space, where you help people. But I've then also realized that you help people in whatever space that you are in. As long as you are about to bring change, you can bring change wherever you are. It's never about any position or organization. But
Yeah.
if you want to be a change maker, you can make the changes wherever you are. So I'm grateful to be in government, because at least my voice is heard. I'm happy to be in the ANC because it's a ruling party, because it also means that I can echo my views, to important people. So, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. My role model is Oprah Winfrey, because we are both born in January
Okay.
29th. And if there's anything I've realized about her, is that she's not really much on power, but she's on influence. And I'm realizing also I'm big on influence. Sometimes I don't necessarily have to be on the front, but as long as I'm able to influence the decisions and the outputs of something, for me that's good. I think sometime in the future, I'd like to be in the media space, but yeah, that's also in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So majority of our audience, I was checking our analytics on YouTube, and majority of our audience is like from 25 to 35. And those are the same people who have been frustrated about the government, and those are the same people who might have not voted
Yes.
this year. And I want to ask you like a two-way question. From an outside perspective, what do you think are some of their frustrations to the government? And then from the inside, what do you think they don't understand that is happening on the inside, or whether it's like trying to mitigate everything, or like the plans that are coming, or even opportunities that are there but they are not being utilized?
I think young people are frustrated. Okay, you have different categories,
Yeah.
right? You have young people who feel entitled, who feel like, the government is supposed to give me a job, is supposed to give me money. But you also have a large number of young people that went to school and are graduates and they are not getting employed. And you also have young people that are creatives like yourselves that are trying to do things that could put maybe the country on the map, but there's no funding for it. And you sometimes don't know which doors to knock at. And you have young people also who are saying, I might have my grade 12, but I just want a job. And I just want to find myself doing something. You have young people that have businesses. I mean, if we could go to CIPC, we'll see how many young people have registered their businesses, but they don't know what is the way forward. And I think for me, those are the opportunities that they feel that the government should be creating for them. But I'm always on, as someone on the inside, I'm always on some, as much as young people are still not a united constituency. You can't, you, for example, if you guys are guys in the music industry, just making an example, as long as you don't form something and say, this is how we are going to voice our grievances, it becomes difficult, and that's why it's demoralizing. In terms of young people, I think young people have also stopped trying because government is trying to do so much. I even always say that go to your councillor's office. I know people don't even like doing that.
I'm one of those people.
Yes, and I always say, the first step before even the president of the country can hear your grievance,
Yeah.
the first person to talk to is your councillor.
Yeah.
Because you will find those other people who are benefiting. Sometimes abenza umchayelo, kuthiwa umchayelo mosaphelokishini ababaklinayo.
Yeah.
I saw apha Barcelona and Europe, there's a system where kuklinwa is public toilets.
Yeah.
I saw a number of young people cleaning those toilets, and I was so proud. And those young girls were pretty girls who just did not mind. Like when it was their time to clean the toilets, they were cleaning, their toilets, and the councillor was explaining to me, but it's part of the city's project. So never get tired to going to your councillor, because you need to understand what's happening. Number two, there are things like your ECDs and your NPOs. If you are in those meetings, that your NDPs, where you adopt your NDPs, it's where you are able to say, I'm running an ECD. And then the councillor will check about, okay, I've got like 20 people who are running ECDs here. So that means some of the budget money, we can give it towards your ECD. Two, then if you move from your councillor, you go to your sub-council. Your sub-council will have a database of businesses that are there. So now you'll register your business banner. Okay, my business is there. Do you know now, things that are less than 30,000, now you can bid to do it. It's not even a tender. But you won't know those things because you are just demoralized and you don't bother to go and find out. I mean, in Golden Acre, there's an NYDA office.
Yeah.
And I know, I've been there. You'll go there sometimes and you must beg the person to really assist you. But be there and tell them, look, I've got a business. Because sometimes you'll find that there's posters out that I saw recently, a poster that NYDA is giving out equipment. And sometimes you don't even have to be registered. As long as you have a business idea, they'll help you register and they will give you some grant. But I'm privileged because I'm in certain WhatsApp groups. That's why I get those things.
Yeah.
But if you are just on your own, staying at home, you're unlikely to see those things. So that's why you need to understand spaces that have opportunities and you go there. Department of Labor now also has a process now whereby you get registered so that they see your CV. And then they are able to say, oh, okay, when there are opportunities, they'll know about, oh, this is a person who submitted. The city of Cape Town also has its own database. So make sure that you are also on that database. I mean, there's a new thing now, Lena, your assistant teachers as well. Those are also some of the opportunities that I think government is creating. But I'm just saying that once you are demoralized on your own, you end up not trying anything at all. And I think government, I mean, the stats were out. The unemployment rate is at its peak. Also, maybe because COVID was also another knock. As much as people are saying, yeah, but COVID is another knock that has really dealt with our, economic standing as a country, but also the rampant corruption. We can't, shy away from that. That the corruption also, because those are funds that were supposed to have gone, to the poor. But my view also, and I always raise this in platforms, is that also even with the 350 grant that is being given by government, even the SASA grant, I just feel that we also are supposed to have, even if it's welfare officers, because sometimes if I'm getting a grant for my child, which is 400, it's so easy to just be dependent on that 400. Whereas if we had a welfare office whereby a mother who goes there to get money, you are also asked, Bana, bring your CV. So it also now brings you up that, hey, you know what? I need to up my game, and I can also look for a job whilst I'm getting, this money. And I also feel there's no support in terms of unemployed graduates. I feel that that's why when I was explaining that now we are taking over, somehow overseeing state-owned enterprises. And I was saying to myself, probably this will be a way where we use our entities in the way that they used to be used for. Remember, in the apartheid system, that's why we know that Bond, that book about how they were running the economy. And I think we must look into making sure that our state entities are strengthened, they make money, and they're able to take in a number of young people and give them, experience. Because back in the day, you could just do your ends by working. That is why we had a lot of white people that were working, and they did not even have a qualification. But now, because it's us black people, it's always an issue of qualification. I'm so sorry. Let me take this one. Hello?
Wow, it's amazing.
Diphila unjani? Eh. Okay, so bafuna ndiyibhale njani? 2012. Yeah, September. Yeah, 9. Yeah. Okay. Well, but they are going to their system, but they will send it. So I'll forward it as soon as they send it, because I gave them my email address. So I'll just forward it from my phone. Eh, yeah. Because I didn't needed the stamp, bonabana stamp per essential receipt. They don't have a stamp in Century City. I think by Tumela somewhere their head office, so they needed the stamp as well. Mm-mm. Look, it's like a satellite office. Well, so that's why I had to leave it there. That's why I had to leave it there for a stamp. Well, so that's why I left it there for a stamp. Okay. All right. Sure. Yeah, sorry guys. Dinner phone and non-stop.
No, we hear. I think you're not the first person to have a call on the show.
Really?
And I think we're open like that because I remember you might know her sister ka D Mayekiso
Sister got D.
D Mayekiso Oliso Mayekiso Kota
Oh, got
lady.
a lady.
Yeah,
Yes.
she had to take an order on the show. So I was like, it's your business.
Yes, guys.
We
And
can't
now I
stop
work
you.
for a minister there,
Yeah.
minister in the president. So they can't not get hold of me under
Yeah.
no circumstances.
Yeah,
But thank
yeah.
you that you guys are a cool crowd like that.
Yeah. No. We appreciate people who are working, man. Because also we want progress in life. We don't want to be like people who are hindering progress. We're talking about
Youth unemployment.
yeah. And I was actually gonna ask you about SOEs. Like, what's your take on the state of SOEs? And do you think that some of them can be revived?
Yes. So the president, I think the president wants to make sure that SOEs are left in good shape. I think that's part of the legacy that he wants to leave behind. Hence the stance to say these entities must be brought under one roof, but they must be handled properly. So, I mean, you've heard now that ESCOM is generating more electricity. So, which shows that with decisive and good political will, the state of our SOEs can do better.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying we cannot overemphasize clean and good governance. So that, look at what happened to PRASA.
Yeah.
Because PRASA was such a good entity that could have employed so many people. But because of the internal issues, it is where it is. So I think in this new term, this new 5 years, I think by the time we're done with the 5 years, we'd have a different story to tell about the SOEs. And you are going to be surprised at the progress that they are going to make. So I think part of the push by government to say, and maybe we should be happy when even opposition parties are saying they want good and qualified people. I mean, the new Minister of Electricity, who is an engineer, I think, by profession. And he's someone who's passionate, who understands his field.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of the good lessons about governance as well, that we've got to strike a good balance into the skill and the capacity for you to do something. I personally feel the political space is not necessarily one that qualifications play a major role.
Yeah.
But if you have people that are qualified, put them there so that you can do the work better and you are better advised. I mean, recently we've seen that even those people who are shouting that they want qualifications, they have matric.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
So yes. So I mean, but I think we are on the right track. And I think that was a good call, in fact, because now we've got good people running, government. And I think we want to make sure that we leave a good legacy. I mean, the results were something else.
Yeah.
And they've shown that, people will get tired.
Yeah.
They'll say this thing and say this thing, and at some point they will get tired. But at the end of the day, all of us are going to be in trouble with whatever decisions that we take. So I think all of us, we need to be able to take collective responsibility. And that's why I always say, and I used to be part of Activate, which are change drivers. And there we were taught on how to go to your counselor. And I always say it's your first point of contact to say, even if you feel that there are floods here, you must be able to go and report. It's another thing if he doesn't do anything. But those in authority must also not relax.
Yeah.
and feel and think that it's business as usual when things are not okay. So I'm a firm believer of also good and accountable leadership, and those are some of the things that I think in the SOEs are placed in, and I think we'll be enjoying our Transnet now doing better.
Yeah.
So it looks like a brighter future for everyone, because remember, once you have your SOEs doing well, it also means once your ESCOM is doing well, it also means the electric tariffs that are rocket high will also decrease, and we'll be able to use our natural resources. I mean, South Africa has coal.
Yeah.
We must be able to have those conversations as a country as well. How do we use our natural resources, your coal, before you want to rush into nuclear power stations?
Yeah. It's crazy how they wanted us to stop coal, but they still want to buy that coal from
Exactly.
us.
So, but also because sometimes we are so quiet.
Yeah.
That's why I love civil society, because civil society will form something right now and say we are anti certain things, and they will call the government to book to say, look, we're not happy about A, B, C, and D. I mean, I think there have been strong calls about the prices of food. And that's why government now is also looking at making sure the price of bread, the necessities now, is also at an affordable rate for everyone. And I mean, if the country does well, economically, you can even get more than the 350, which is, maybe we used to have issues around giving support grants, but you can't expect people that are not working to be able to have food on the table. As much as people will say, no, people must find jobs, but you've seen now there are no jobs. So you can't.
But like, I wanna dispute that.
There are no jobs.
No. I wanna dispute that. The continuation of it.
Okay.
To an extent that you raise it. I feel like, as much as like there's a lot of working state welfare states.
Yes.
For me, I feel like there's that say that if you bring the fish,
okay, you won't teach the other person how to fish.
You get what I mean? So like, I feel like there's a lot that people can be equipped with, and there's a lot of factors that contribute to how the state is right now in the township. The way of life, the education, the red tapes, because you can't shy away from the fact that things don't reach the right people.
And it's difficult to even get certain things.
I've been in spaces, I won't name them, where I'm working with the executives, and I'm always like, I'm the reflection of the most ordinary person in the country. So what impact is this project gonna have on those people? Don't tell me that we're doing big scale impacts, that you'd only find that a portion of privileged people are going to benefit from this,
and big companies actually,
and
that are able to do everything and take everything, so they're able to get,
and then the rest are not catered for. And it's like, why are we doing all of this, and why are we acting as if we're here to work for the people, but we're just here for the job post? I'm the director, I'm this, I'm that, and I love my job, but what is my job? Is my job to keep the rich getting richer, or
how do we bridge the gap?
To
say coffee doesn't have a BEE certificate.
You get what I mean?
How do we make sure coffee has a BEE certificate?
Yeah.
No, I think I mean, in business there's a lot of red tape. I mean, I worked before I worked where I am working. I worked for an organization that was for informal traders. So I was doing a lot of work for informal traders, and it made me realize how omama abathengisa sweets, estradweni, will always sell sweets for the rest of their lives. I think that is what frustrated me the most, the fact that there's just no changing the cycle. And you find that even their daughter at some point will take over. They'll even say, no, you take over even the spot if she passes away. And that was like, really? And someone was saying to me, okay, because we tried to even create business accounts for them. Then someone was even saying to me, you guys are trying to create business accounts for them, but do you know it's the same rate as a PTY? That is fully functional.
Yeah.
So you don't have a system that assists an informal trader
Yeah.
purely
Yeah,
to say
yeah.
this person does not even have a bank account.
Yeah.
Right? This person gets 50 rands maybe a day.
Yeah.
And this is how they're surviving. But we don't have a system of how we empower them to make sure that they begin to be a bigger store than what they are.
Yeah.
You know, a simple example, people are fighting over Somalian shops.
Yeah.
But we've never created shops and wholesalers that sells things cheaper. So that in the township,
Yeah.
Uma Magaban, who used to run a spaza shop, is able to buy things. But because we left those shops because they were expensive.
Yeah, of course.
That's why some of those that when we grew up, we had them, they closed down.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And there was really no support.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm telling you, there can't be a Somalian person running a shop here and their country does not know they are here and there's no support structure. But also, I think there are also some of the elements that now of our culture we don't use in certain things. Africans are known for ubuntu,
Yeah.
for caring for each other, but we don't share opportunities.
Yeah.
We don't say, Chomi, I've got a plug to buy bags from China.
Yeah.
You buy that plug. I recently bought a plug for Zara bags and 10 Baker bags. Gave 50 rand,
Yeah.
because, and I'm still going to pay someone to buy those things in China and come and then I sell it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, some of those things that we pride ourselves as Africans, we don't use them in certain things.
Yeah.
So people will not tell you that coffee. There's an organization that supports this type of work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it also stems to what I started before to say, once we start having this individualistic attitude and we work in silos, we aren't able to accomplish a number of things. And that's not the attitude of us Black and African people, because we share ideas, we share, opportunities. But it seems like we are so entrapped into being better that you wouldn't share anything with someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I sometimes get surprised, like when I tell people, but you can go to a FET college,
Yeah.
and there's support in that, but we don't do those things. And you tell someone, man, hi man, after this you can do this. I've even started something when I get home. I also now in the Eastern Cape, Queenstown, when I go home, I find out who's doing grade 12 and say, okay, do you want us to help you apply, to go to university? But just those little things, we no longer do them. And those
Yeah.
are some of the things that are a cornerstone of our culture. But when it comes to money, we quickly lose them.
Yeah.
I mean, for me to be scared to walk in my township with my phone,
Yeah.
because the other person is taking that, thinking that I'm doing better.
Yeah.
So that also shows how morally there's some moral decay, and even those things that we call cultural, we don't use them when it suits us. So yeah, I can't lie, there's a lot of red tape because I know it and I've been in that space. And that's why because small traders have now different organizations, and from time to time they will call the minister of small business to say, we want to talk to you, let's have an engagement,
Yeah.
let's have an understanding as to how someone like me is assisted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a question that I want to ask you. A lot of people are saying that the ANC lost the elections, but they won the negotiations. And I think it does reflect in a way. And now that there is GNU, what's your take on the GNU? And I know it's too early. I was listening to JJ Taban and he was like, guys, don't get your horses high.
There's so much that can happen. We're still like
to see anything. But
we haven't even finished the year.
Who do you think has hit the ground rounding in terms of the ministries? Like, which ministry do you feel like, this one is heading towards the right direction?
in terms of answering that, it's going to be difficult because I'll have to start with my boss and say, no, we've we've hit the ground running.
Yeah.
But I think let's give it to the Minister of Electricity.
Okay.
Because I mean, there were things we could point out.
Yeah.
We've seen the turnaround.
Yeah.
And it's still too early. So on others, we can't really, because people are also taking over things that they were running.
Yeah.
Look, the ANC won elections, but it's like passing at school. If you don't get 50...
The LG passing.
Yes, you get it. So it's the same thing. If you get 40% at school, you pass. But it was not the pass that my age group was used to, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same with the ANC. We won, but not with the right, amount that is supposed to help us be kingmakers and take drastic decisions. Yeah. But I think the negotiating part, it shows the strength of the ANC. Yeah. It shows the minds and the strength, of the ANC. And that's why I continuously say, when we talk about this, I always say we need to get rid of the rotten apples in the ANC. Yeah. And I'm not one to mince my words in that, because I haven't been corrupt. I'm not a rotten apple of the ANC. Yeah. And I'm for that the rotten apples in the ANC must leave the ANC. Yeah. And I'm of the view that good people in the ANC who are still principled must speak up. Because we have this tendency of trying to cover up things that are not okay, which makes us feel that we are part and parcel of that. There are still good leaders in the ANC, credible leaders in the ANC, but they must speak up, because from where society is standing, they are only seeing the rotten apples.
Yeah, of course.
And which is a sad state of affairs. But I think also the ANC reminds me of a woman. The ANC has a way of being able to reinvent itself. We've risen above in the GNU. In terms of, we could have been selfish and said, let's go back to elections. That we could do.
Yeah, of course. I know there were about 5 options.
Yes, you had a number of options, which means put the country at disarray. Yeah. Because remember, even when there were no decisions taken on the GNU, people were were worried. Yeah. People were also, getting frustrated to say, what is going to happen? What is the ANC saying? And I was saying, but people can't say the ANC, because they've forced us into a corner. Yeah. Whether it was to punish us, whether it was to teach us a lesson, but they've pushed us at a different corner. Yeah. And you had people who were saying, why work with the DA, a DA that does not like white people, black people, I mean. But Western Cape people are sitting in these environments and they vote for the DA. Yeah. And I was saying,
also, I want to shove in something there. I think other concern was the fact that you guys have policy differences. Yes. And some of those policy differences will reflect also in the Ministry of Education, because there was the Bella Bill and
in the Western Cape.
You get what I mean? So I think that was part of the people's concerns.
Of course, but part of those concerns, the demographics in the Western Cape have now tilted. Yeah. But black people in the Western Cape still vote for the DA. And or our people, if they don't vote for the DA, they don't go out to vote. Yeah.
Can I play devil's advocate? Don't you think some of the people that vote for the DA who are black in the Western Cape fear that if the city of Cape Town, let's say mostly the city of Cape Town, is now ruled by any other party than DA, will be similar or the same as the other cities that are a bit unstable?
Okay.
For example, Ekurule.
Is doing public management, right? So in me trying to assist her, we would look at Ikuhoruleni as one of the municipalities. And it was a great municipality to work with, and it was a great municipality to do a project on because of the programs that were running at the point. And that was an ANC run municipality. The instability comes with the coalition.
Okay.
And because coalitions in their nature are marriages of convenience. So me and you, if we want to get out of that door, we might agree. But when we get outside, things might change when we get outside, and it might mean that I no longer need you when we are outside.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the nature of the coalition. And as far as the Western Cape, I always feel like black people vote for the DA, and it's their right to do so. But I always tell people who are not from Western Cape when they say, yo, but Western Cape is well run. And I say, try calling their department. I mean, people who are struggling with houses. They don't even know where to go, to just go and inquire that I had received this number. How do I get my house? And I was saying to them, of course it's a city well run because they run well the city. You know, go to Mitchell's Plain, go to Bonteville, go to Guguletu, go to Nyanga. You know, those places, and you tell me if they are run well by the so-called DA. I mean, we were struggling, we were seeing houses here from the street that are flooded. And our people are living like that. And do you know that Western Cape is one of the areas where our national government, which is the ANC, is giving houses. You can check the houses in terms of houses. Eastern Cape doesn't get as much houses as Western Cape does. And that is a national government space. But because also, I'm not sure whether it's the culture of the Western Cape, we've decided that maybe white people are better. Or it's an issue that we just won't vote. Maybe we are so demoralized that we won't go out and even vote on that day because what's the point?
I think also we shouldn't forget the fact that the population of the Western Cape, majority, it's colored people. And the best logic for DA, keep the majority happy. How do you keep the majority happy? You make sure that you put the majority in a space whereby they can feel better than the rest.
Of course.
So whether it's positions, whether it's giving houses, because I follow the mayor's page on Facebook, and I see other
groupings,
MECs, the housing department, and giving people, you'd see it's like your colored areas, but you don't see them doing it in different areas like black areas.
Yes.
So it's more like keeping the majority happy, and then you get the majority of the votes.
Point taken. But that's why I'm coming and saying, even if we were minority, at least we'll be able to command some level of respect. And which is what the DA has done now. You know, the DA is sticking to its 20%. It's not rising, it's not dropping. And that 20% helped it to have governing power. So I think even in the Western Cape, I think for me, my call would be, can our people go and vote? And raise their issues, you know, if they feel that councillors are not doing enough. Because luckily enough, in terms of councillors, the councillors belong to the ANC. It's just that in terms of the proportional representation, then it's where we really drop. But what does not help is that in a ward, like let's say even here, even if 2,000 vote will still win, but it means that the rest of the 6,000 didn't go out, and which is a dangerous thing, because now once you go out to vote, we must also have those majority numbers so that we are able to govern.
I think that's the message for the next 2 years.
Yes.
2026 is
Yes.
the year.
No. We are going to fight with our councillors. Our councillors must work very hard and service our people.
I have less confidence in your councillors. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I have less confidence in them, and I feel like some of the people who actually get to those seats, they do what is required for PR. The
Okay.
rest they don't care
They
about.
don't care.
They're not proactive.
Yeah.
They are reactive.
Because you know why? Because activists stay at the back and rely on organizations like Good
Yeah.
to take them. Like the recent guy that was taken by Good, who was part of Rise.
Yeah.
We know that guy, all of us, that
Yeah.
we've known him in the NGO space, and he's an activist.
Yeah.
But reality is that activists also sometimes have a mentality that things will just be delivered to them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if an activist in Barcelona were to rise up and say, look, I'm going to contest and these are the things that I'm going to do. Remember in the ANC back in the day, the ANC used to even take people that are just popular.
Yeah.
They will sort out your issue of membership once you know you are inside. That used to be our strategy.
Yeah.
But because now all of us have stayed back and said, let them do their thing, let them fight amongst each other.
Yeah.
Which is what becomes a crisis, because activists are standing in their own corners. And because if you want to champion issues, you then be amongst the people and say, okay, this is what must happen.
Yeah.
So I think we get the councillors that we have because they put themselves out there and they campaign. But we don't, Tina, as activists, say, no, that I'm going to raise up a certain issue and run with it for my community.
Yeah, but still, it won't change my. Because, like, for example, I didn't want to speak about this thing because it's like very personal and very close to my heart. When my niece was being searched and it was all over the news, there was like that hope that she would be found. And when she was found deceased, I remember there was a day I was just working from home and I was quickly called at my sister's house to come. Minister Pegicele is coming, so and so is coming, Eba is coming, all of them. And I was like, let's go and see. And I went there. I was like, guys, don't expect me to talk, because if I talk, I'm the realest.
You're going to tell them what it is.
I know the game, so I'm the realest. So don't ask me to talk. And they were not asked anything, but they voluntarily said, we're gonna contribute these things. And he even called, I don't think she's still a minister, Lindy were Zulu. They were like making all these arrangements, and then Eba was like, I'm gonna do this. And then the other, I don't remember what he does, but he's also in the ANC. It's like, I'm gonna do this. And funny enough, all of them didn't do whatever they promised to do. And
None of them. And it was not like we were begging for that thing to happen. They offered. You get what I mean? And for me, it always feels like they're not proactive. For example, you were like impressed by the fact that, the girls are working, but do you think that the work that they're doing, a human deserves to do that kind of work? Or a human deserves to live that way? I've been here for about 25 years. I've lived here for about 25 years. 25. My mom passed away and staying here. And do you think that these people, you are not here to represent all of government or like whatever government does, but as a person also, do you think that these people who live here deserve to live here and also get all the promises? Because promises trigger something in someone's... They trigger hope. You are always hopeful. Look, like I said, you see the issue about government And I think that's what I've learned in the short space I've been there. Sometimes you don't ask things from politicians, but they offer it. That's what I'm saying. But we're now who's staff member, you know, because remember, minister has a lot of things.
Yeah, of course.
I've seen the number of meetings. Like my boss goes to meetings every single day.
Yeah.
Then on a weekend, she has ANC meeting.
Yeah.
But if I don't keep her accountable to say, but we've promised coffee.
Yeah.
At here and here, these are the things that were supposed to be done. You know, so I think we politicians are at that level where they will give those promises, but I think what's important is that people should keep them accountable, and people in their offices, that is, because I'm sure they were not on their own.
Yeah.
You know, there were people from their offices who were listening.
Of course. Yeah, they were.
You know, because he might forget what he said.
Yeah, they were actually writing it down.
Exactly. You know, so it also, you know, someone was even saying to me that, you know, when we speak of corruption, we forget even the officials that are employed in those spaces, because they themselves are the ones who don't do anything, and then tomorrow we are quickly to say the politicians, because of course we are the ones that we vote for them. But in general, what happens to the official? What happens to the person who was here, station commander maybe, who was also here when there was that issue? What happened to them? You know, so I think for me, it comes back to everyone who's employed, even if you are working at ShopRite. If you don't also give service and understand that I'm doing this service for my country or service for my area, then it spoils there from the beginning, that even the people that are supposed to just do the work are not doing the work that they are supposed to do. And in terms of the girls that we were talking about, who must do it? You know, that's the other question. Who must do it?
Yeah.
Who must do it?
For in terms of the situation right now, of course, I agree. Someone has to
do it. Number two, probably it's better because it's people in the area, you know, because it's a service for their area. But I mean, for every young person, we expect the best. Right? We expect the best. We want them to, you would want everyone, I'm sure for every parent, when they get a child, they expect the best from them. You expect your child to be a lawyer, you expect your child to be a doctor. You know, those are the things. But life is somehow very different. And that's why I love socialism. Part of the ideological perspective that I love is, you know, Marxism and so forth. The reason why I love those, because if you had a socialist state, not a welfare state, if you had a socialist state, it would be an issue whereby doing whatever you are doing a service for your country. And even if I were to do the garden, I would feel the same way as a doctor is feeling, because first of all, I'm doing something for my country. So part of that, there's an issue of patriotism that is not there, whereby even if you are doing something, you don't feel like you are doing for your community. And I raised this thing and I said, it's this thing of individualism and competition, which is not a good culture to also have. You know, because at the end of the day, someone must do certain things. In a society, someone must do something. That is why you are even able to have a cleaner. And that becomes, it's a job. And you can't say, hi Ubanban, probably Ubanban loves being a cleaner. But because when now you feel behind now, you know, I would not be a cleaner. And those are some of the things that I appreciated from those girls, because they were youth. And they could have easily said, I can't do this. You know, I deserve better. But because they understood that this is what we have at the moment, but it doesn't mean we will die here and there aren't any opportunities. I have a young lady at my office who cleans the office. She was recently writing her grade 12. So sometimes she'll ask for time to, you know, to go and write her grade 12. And she was saying to me, I'm tired of being a cleaner. you know.
Yeah.
So for me, those are some of the attitudes that you start somewhere. I always tell my friends that now there's nothing that I did not really do. You know, I used to volunteer my time at Lumkile's book joint,
Yeah.
which was a service, but it was a volunteer. I wasn't getting anything, for it. But as long as our young people can have that attitude to say sometimes you start somewhere. You can start off as a cleaner and be a supervisor. You decide to study further, or you decide to have your own business, and it becomes something else. So it's always the mindset.
Yeah.
It's always the attitude. But I feel as South Africans, there's no sense of patriotism. Whereby we can be proud of what you are doing right now and say, hi, but we must make sure Ukofi gets the recognition that he deserves, that Monica Mayhem is supposed to be recognized somewhere. It's those things that we no longer care about those things, because it's always about what am I doing. Is it making me at least high up in society, and which is a bad system to have, but it's capitalism. And I'm not someone where capitalism, capitalism, everything is for sale. Like in capitalism, there's a price. Someone can just pay for, So I'm someone who, even in my politics, I have an ideological perspective. And part of that ideological perspective is why I'm anti-sexism, is why I don't like patriarchy. To a point that people who know me, they know which conversations to have in my presence and which conversations not to have, because it's that attitude of thinking everything is for sale, thinking women are for sale, and so forth. And men still do it. They still do it. I could even be a president. But if I find myself with a man that is patriarchal, they'll be able to reduce me to that level. And those are some of the things that I feel part of our economic issues. It's the issue of capitalism and how people just do things for the sake. It's what you were saying. People just say things for optics. Like another lady from, I think he's from Limpopo, was saying to me, hi, but Xhosas don't like each other. I mean, the same hospitals in the Eastern Cape that don't have equipment and so forth, their grandparents and parents are using those same, hospitals. Why wouldn't you fix something that your people benefit? And I mean, if politicians could have that mentality once again of saying, this thing is not about me, but it's about service to my people, at least we will see progress. And I'm not saying they can do miracles, but I'm sure you can get a sense when someone is trying. Even if they can't, but you can get a sense, because I always say that to our councillors. I say, in the Western Cape we are not governing, but I'm sure people can see when you are trying your utmost, and then it's because you are not in power in the province, and they'll be able to say, but now we are Sebenza. It's just that balance of forces are not on your side. But when people are just getting the money out of it and getting the fame, people are likely to notice that, you are not getting anything. You are just using us. And I mean, we are too old, and society has grown so much. Our democracy has grown so much with options. That's why people can just say, this is not it. Like they did with our pass rate, our 40% instead of the 50+1.
I wanna ask you something about the breaking news today.
Oh, interesting.
The breaking news. By the time when you guys watch this, it won't be breaking news, but Mr. Floyd Shivambu has stepped down as an EFF member, and he wants to be retracted in Parliament as an EFF member, and he is now joining the MK party. And what's your take on that?
So, let me tell you about Floyd. So, when I joined an organization called SASCO, a student organization, we were always told about Floyd. That's how smart he was. So, Floyd was a branch chairperson. So we have a BC in SASCO at branch level. So that university that you're part of has its own branch.
Yeah.
So he wrote a political input, because when you have an AGM, a meeting, you, as a chairperson, you are expected to deliver a political input. And his political input was taken into a discussion document of SASCO, which is a national thing. So that's how smart Floyd is.
Yeah.
He was a member of YCL, Young Communist League, which groomed him very well because he's a smart guy. I would have wished that he would have come back home. But I know the arrogance won't allow him. I think it's a huge blow for the EFF, but the EFF, I'm sure, realized on those last elections that it was game over. They've played a good fight, and they've ran a good race, but it was game over. And the issue with this type of politics, it's the personal and prove a point politics. And it goes back to that, and the sad part around it, it's what about EFF people that voted for him, that believed in the ideals of EFF? You know, it just shows how then your politicians can just decide to duck and dive for their own personal things. And what about the people, right? What about the people? And one would be worried that maybe MK is building an army against the ANC.
I was about to ask you, don't you think the team meeting is at play now?
Yes, but the other issue is, you know why the ANC remains one of the strongest organizations. And people think we're being arrogant, and we're not being arrogant when we say those things. But the ANC is run based on policies and guidelines of the ANC. That is why you have to come from a branch before you are able to participate in anything on the ANC. And it's not easy for someone to say, hi, today we've decided to fire Vovo, as the ANC. What these new organizations don't understand, and what we've realized even about the Democratic Alliance, is that they are run by single individuals.
Yeah.
That's why Helen Zille can want to fight, because a part of her wants to prove a point that actually this is my
I'm still
and I'm in charge.
She said it. I'm the Fikile Mbalula.
Exactly. And that's what how we operate.
Yeah.
As much as Fikile Mbalula is the SG,
Yeah.
but he can't just alone take a decision. And that's what makes the ANC such a powerful organization.
Yeah.
Because with MK party, you've heard now how they are just going to change lists and so forth.
Yeah.
And again, I say, you fielded a number of names to say these are the names that will go to parliament and push your ideals. What are you saying about that now? Because now you are there, you are just chopping and changing into one. Because it shows that there's no loyalty to the manifesto that they were giving. There's no loyalty to what they had promised, because they just don't care. That is what is always something good about the ANC. Even if the ANC tomorrow can lose elections, but it will never lose its organizational power because of how it's run, the policies and its ideals. Because we go to conferences before we can take a certain decision. You're right? And there's an NEC, a number of people that speak and talk around how we should tackle an issue. The danger of small parties is that they are built on anger, they are built on personal issues, they are built on I'm going to show you. And that over time is going to lead to their destruction. Other people can be saying that also people who are joining MK party are running away from their cases. They are trying now to make sure that they forge a unit that will fight against things that are coming out. Look at the list of people and look at what they are implicated on. Because even with Abu Floyd, there's VBS coming out. So look at that camp, look at everyone who's fielded there, and look at what they are currently facing. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying, look at what, and ask yourself, what is so common?
So don't you think the same problems that they're facing or whatever they are facing in the face of the law are the same things some of your members are facing, and there's a bit of a struggle internally in the ANC in terms of being consistent in terms of how you handle things.
No.
Because, for example, we had a shock when we saw Uzizi Kodwa being sworn in again and then he stepped down again. It's like, what's happening?
So, I was about to say that because that's now the major issue.
Yeah.
Because Tina, we've got now a policy that is step aside.
Yeah.
The minute now you are implicated, you are requested to step aside and you leave. Remember, Zizi Kodwa resigned from being a minister.
Yeah.
At that time, lists had already gone through IEC. You must remember, for people who are going to parliament.
Yeah.
So him coming back, because remember he was already on the list.
Yeah.
He had to come back and be sworn in. Then if he's still in that case, he then withdraws again. So that's a process also with the. So if I was on that list now, and I then decide that I no longer want to, I must still be sworn in and then I resign from, because there's also state issues. There's also ANC issues.
Yes, of
because
course.
In terms of the state, he's still eligible to run.
Yeah.
But because of what he understands in the ANC, he had to withdraw. It's a painful pill to swallow, but we are going by it. I mean, look at Mapisa Ngakula, my favorite person, right? She had to, go.
Yeah. She's dealing with
Yes, so that's why I'm saying that we are dealing with all of those challenges. We are dealing with all of those challenges because we've realized that if we don't act on those things, it's going to destroy the ANC.
Yeah.
And that's why your victims of processes are fighting so hard. Are fighting so hard.
Hey, I know the Jeff is going to Free State now.
So those are some of the other. And you must also remember, I think elections caught many people by surprise.
Yeah.
Because we were saying to ourselves, who else had an organization first and he was closer to the former president? Why didn't they have one thing? Right?
Yeah.
And even the EFF Galoku could have just said, all right, guys, come to us. Also, there's power battles.
Don't you think that there's a bombshell coming, though?
No, actually. I think, like I said, when I looked at when we were discussing the issue of coalitions, so my first thing was, hi man, EFF, and then I saw them on 9%, and then I was like, that one was dying anyways. On the EFF, we're still going, on the MK, we're still going to see a lot of things. There's still going to be a lot of disagreements. There's going to be a lot of public spats. I mean, look at, what was the first one, Kanen, that left the splinter group from the ANC?
Cope.
Yes.
Cope.
Yes. Look at Cope.
Yeah.
Look at Naya when it started. It had a good.
Yeah, I remember. I was still in primary, ne? Yeah, and it was like.
Yes, and then even EFF when it started, it had like what MK did to us now. It came with but over time, because people are no longer in that elections fever. Yeah. They realize that hi Shem here we're being taken
because of course also like my dispute was like they only communicated their manifesto on media, on people who are like in politics, people are educated, but I don't think from like way to the ground
where they say they are their support
to the real people
where they claim support where they really
so
claim
now
support.
Who are you voting for if you don't know what they stand for from the first
and
place?
The disrespect, because if you are saying you are for the poorest of the poor, why don't you engage them? And my worry beyond everything else is how South Africa is also going back to tribal lines. I mean, look at the voting. Limpopo, you'll say the Tsongas and everyone that side voted, ANC. in your Eastern Cape, they voted,
Yeah.
your ANC, and in KZN they voted their MK because they feel it's their thing. So for me, that's like a regression.
Yeah.
As a country, if we are still, people are still able to mobilize us according to racial lines, are still able to mobilize us according to color. The DA in the Western Cape will still galvanize whites and colors.
Yeah.
So
PA
also now pushing the pro-colored narrative. It's a sad state of affairs because it really means that we still have not found each other as a country, and it still means that what continues to divide us still divides us than the national agenda, which is what we should be pushing for a South Africa that's for everyone.
Yeah. My last conversation with you, there's a gentleman who's currently having a meltdown.
A meltdown?
Yeah.
Is it the CIC?
No. Besides him, he's also having a meltdown. But he's the 45th president of the United States of America. His name is Donald Trump.
You know that one. We must die hard.
For me, I hate his agenda, but in terms of his, you can't
help but love him.
I hate his agenda, but I don't want to say personality, but the way he sees things, man.
But you can't hate. You can't but like him.
Are you okay? For me, I'm like, are you okay?
No, but I think white supremacy.
Yeah, he stands for that. He's like very patriotic to like the United States.
Yes.
Like
he's like those people that say God bless America and no place else.
Yeah, mega. That's it. It's mega.
No, but if there's anything I love about white people, it's how unapologetic they are.
Yeah.
About who they are and about what they want.
Yeah.
That man is so unapologetic.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is Americans had voted for him.
Yeah.
And go to again, you get the leader that you deserve. So that is what they deserve. And it also shows the people that they are.
Yeah.
It shows America.
Of course.
It shows America because whether you like it or not, there are people in America who believed in those ideals.
Yeah. Definitely.
And because he pushes a certain agenda. I was saying this to this guy who runs a printing company, who's a foreign national. And I was saying, sometimes I'd take an Uber and I'd listen to how foreign nationals will be like, South Africans are lazy and whatnot. And, the ANC is also a bad government. And I'll be able to say that, how in the ANC we fight over the issue of foreign nationals. Because the ANC has these principles and ideals, like how we are fighting the Palestinian-Israel issue. Because it's a matter of principle. It's not whether we like it or not, but it's what the ANC had always stood for. Remember, this country was also assisted by forces that were outside the country. And therefore, Angola was a training base, for our MKVA. So those are things that are important to us. And some of the things when we fight, and we're saying, we feel that there's a lot of foreign nationals in the country and others are illegal. But you get a sense that you also can't be xenophobic because these people have helped us at some point. And you can't want to take away your brothers.
Yeah, of course.
But these are some of the things that I feel the ANC tries to take a middle ground, but it gains nothing from it. I mean, it's the same ANC that said, you can't just take land. But whites are still fighting the very same ANC that made sure that they are part of South Africa and they are able to benefit in the gains, of the country. So it's one of those things that at some point I always feel that South Africa and America is going to fight.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of
because the principles are not the
Yeah, of
same,
course.
the ideals are the same, are not the same. And remember, we are getting into spaces like your BRICS, whereby South Africa
Yeah.
must be bold
Yeah.
and say what is it saying. You
Yeah.
know, so we are getting into a space whereby there's really going to be international issues.
Yeah.
And I love the ANC that on international relation policies, we've decided to strengthen that part and to say that we will remember where the ANC is coming from. And even the Palestine issue, people were saying that even those colours that are Muslims did not vote for us. And are we now still going to continue, with that? But we will continue because it was never about votes.
Yeah.
It was an issue of principle because it's sad what is happening there.
Yeah.
It's really sad. But also, I think from both sides, Palestine and Israel, there's no side that is supposed to be violent.
Yeah.
But of course, we know how Israel is continuously dealing with Palestine.
Yeah.
And also, that's what's so nice about being part of such
Yeah.
a big organization.
I
You
was-
can't just go out and do your own thing and think this is your stop.
I was
there.
actually about to ask you about how do you feel about Biden stepping down and then Kamala Harris stepping in with his running partner, which is Walt. What do you think of that move? Because that's the main reason why Donald Trump is having a meltdown. He's getting frustrated. He wishes that they would bring back
Biden, rather.
Yeah.
No, because I think he realizes of how strong those two are.
Yeah.
And also how progressive they can be. Women can be very progressive.
Yeah.
And people forget this thing there that capitalism, it thrives on patriarchy. And America, as much as kwakukho that other lady who was umfazi Bill Clinton,
Oh, Hillary. Yeah.
right? I loved Hillary, by the way. So if you see, I think Hillary was contesting at the same time Nkosazana Zuma was contesting, more or less the same time,
Yeah.
right? And you should have seen the jokes. How e-comics would want to create as if women are such a joke.
Yeah.
And want to minimize women who are trying to stand up for political positions. And and not take them serious because they want to push a narrative that you can't take women seriously.
Yeah.
Right? So part of white supremacy does not respect women.
Yeah.
And even in our own country, I mean, Nkosazana was also discredited on petty things. I mean, people will take a picture of the shoes she was wearing, and they would call her older when her male counterparts were the same age.
Yeah.
So it shows how politics are still very patriarchal and how women are so discredited when they try to raise their hands.
Yeah.
And they do that deliberately so that other women who are watching are so scared because they know that you are going to be dealt with and you are going to be punished. And that's the very nature even of patriarchy in political spaces that we are in, where if you try to be vocal, if you try to be independent, patriarchal men will go outright for you to show that, so that they make a lesson with you that if you dare try to think, you will see how we will deal with you. They will deal with you and they will put petty things like your personal life. I remember at some point how in the youth league, when I still wanted to run for the youth league, people will discredit me because I'm not working. And they will say, hi, Vovo will want to use this position to get a job. But I mean, those were unnecessary things. But when I look back, I look at how vicious patriarchy is. And those were young males that were in the space with me. But they would want to use those things, against me. So what if I'm not working? Does that mean I can't think? And I think that's also the other issue with our society. That if uti wena kofa, I'm running my own business, people are like, hi, because the first thing they want to know is where are you working.
Yeah, yeah.
Before people in rooms take you serious, you must be saying, I work at... And what if you don't want to work?
Yeah.
What if you want to be a community builder? And what if you want to run your own business? Does that make you less of a person that is deserving of respect? So those are some of the things that in society we should be able to dispel, because in order to make this economy work, all of us must be creative and try to think outside the box. And sometimes outside of the box is not in a formal employment.
Yeah.
And that's fine, as long as it serves the people and is able to bring something towards our economy.
Yeah.
I think for me that's
I think we have to... This is the longest ever podcast I've ever done. We'll have to wrap it up right now because also our sound just went off.
Oh, okay.
But we're gonna use the one on the camera. So if ever you guys heard a shift on the sound, just know that our sound went off.
So we went beyond an hour.
Yeah, we went beyond. So we need to bring you back maybe around November.
Please do.
Yeah.
Because I want to do so many things, Kofi. You remember I wanted to have my own podcast.
Yeah.
You know, I want to rekindle that. But also, I was someone who I never thought has an entrepreneurial bone. And my friend that I was at varsity with, Ace, was saying to me, hi, maybe it grew, Chan.
Yeah.
But I'm into entrepreneurial things now. I want to have my own ECD.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at the type of system that I want to work. I kind of like Montessori, but I know there are others.
Yeah.
Syllabus and curriculums that you can use. But I'm also into my women initiatives, where we have these sessions where women are able to talk around each other. And because sometimes, especially in political spaces, people think that once you are elected into a structure, you are a whole being. But so much goes into being a woman leader, right? And some of us maybe are suffering with what you call this insecurities, and others are having depression, and we don't have spaces where we talk around those things. And I think for women, there's always pressure to appear strong, to appear like you have everything together. But at some point, it's okay to sit in a space and just say, I'm battling with A, B, C, and D. So that you become a whole human being, but a whole leader as well. Yeah. A leader that is not insecure or has hang-ups, but is able to be a leader to even younger generations, that are coming across. And you can be a better mentor and leader because you've also dealt with your own self-esteem issues and your own demons. I think women forget about those things to talk around that. Yeah. I'm currently reading a book called "Running Women That Run with Wolves." You must call me, and then we'll talk around it. It talks about wild women and how that wild is about your innate nature as a woman, your intuition, your creativity, and once you're allowed to live your whole truth of being a wild woman, some of the things that you can accomplish. So my busy schedule, I try to fix in some reading. I've also gone back to school. I want to equip myself better. So I'm closer to the 4th floor. So by the time I'm at the 4th floor, I can officially say life begins at 40.
Yeah. That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And I just wish you all the best. And yeah, man, shout out. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Because he
I
was
know
not
it's
inviting me, so that's a reminder. I know. Why am I not being invited
No
on
way.
the black
I
card?
think last year I didn't invite you, I know my people and I always think about my people. So yeah. And I appreciate that you came through, man. And I appreciate to everyone who's been watching us, even though you heard that there was a sound shift, but you are still watching. I appreciate everyone who's supporting us. And utege uvovo guys, bamandilihlebela uba uzasifumanela umuntu ozosifanda. Give it up to
We must work on it. We must work on it. No. We must
Otherwise,
work on it. Channels is I must just say, guys, Nancy man, concept to play.
And like my fear is the fear of growing, and us as a team growing singabantu ababhitha towards any hand that was supposed to assist us. And then when we were big, we find it hard to accept some of the people who want to use the platform.
And who want to use the fame.
You get what I mean? So I don't want
to bask in the glory.
I don't want that to come out like that, because I want the platform to be always open. Whether we're talking about which party today, which part, anyone is welcome to come here.
Yeah.
Even the other opposition parties, even if it's not politics. I was happy to make the platform open for everyone.
For everyone.
So that's my message.
No, but I mean, part of what we are doing is community development, and you are right when you are saying you can easily be better. I mean, there's initiatives that at some point Nati we've been a part of, where we've been exploited, where people take advantage, and you thought those spaces were supposed to be spaces that nurture you, but instead it was spaces where people were using you to make money. So I understand that fully well, and it's okay for people to fund you, and it's okay for Kasi Mayhem to get sponsorships and to get money. That's okay, because those are things that are supposed to happen to you guys, and we can't all want everything to be a struggle, because for me back in the day it was a struggle. It must also be a struggle. No, guys, we must break the cycle. So I'm all for it. No, I'll talk to my people. I'll talk to my people and say, guys, let's look out for,
and let them watch first.
I'm gonna
this
say
is evidence. Okay, what's going on?
I will.
So that whatever grounds they meet you on, they know what they're talking about too.
So they understand the platform, and they know the quality,
and they're also welcomed.
No. I know someone who probably want to come, but I know when he comes, he must pay, because there must just come the spotlight. So he'd definitely love to come, but he must pay, because he's a public figure. So he earns more than me. So he must come. So I'll let him know. We have a young leader of opposition. I know he will donate something, and he'll probably want to just also get to understand what you guys do. We are friends of this word, so he's familiar with this word. So we are friends of this word, so he'll definitely come.
No. We appreciate it, man. We appreciate it.
Word 40. We call this word 40.
We really appreciate it. I think a lot of people would have learned a lot from this episode. So if you guys want Vovo back on the Black Couch, please comment Vovo on the Black Couch, man. And this is one of I won't forget this one, because we won't be on time. It's the first time that we This is the first time.
I can talk now. We are theater, so it was a bad combination.
Yeah, man. So shout out to everyone who's watching. Shout out to everyone who subscribe on the YouTube channel. Shout out to every new member. We see you, members. Please share it with your family and friends. Let them know that the Kasi Mayhem TV is here to stay, and we bring you nothing but the best content. We're the alternative for the mainstream media. We are here to highlight everything that is happening on the ground. There's a new show that we're bringing in, and I feel like you should have someone to have some sort of a hand in that show. It's called Elevator Pitch.
Okay. So people are going to be pitching their ideas. Oh, great.
Yes, so going around different townships, we're meeting random people. They'll be pitching for about a minute or two. We have a host. The guy is called Mfundo Mbali. He has a brand called Ayo. He sells amakwini. Actually, he's the first person that second person that I did a show with called Uyaz Toluba, where we discover businesses and entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And I liked how he is, and we decided to give him the show. But the show was like very long format. Now we're introducing a
So
short
when is that
format.
starting?
Next month.
Let me know. I'll get the NYDA person to go with you guys.
Yeah.
So they will see then how they will assist you.
Yeah.
But I'll get them to be there.
Yeah, that's the same idea we had, that we may not be able to help the person, but whoever is viewing the content,
Yes.
and also whatever initiatives are surrounding the content.
I know he won't mind to
Yeah.
the provincial head or regional head. I don't know what they are called.
Yeah.
But I know he won't mind
Yeah.
to come and see the concept.
Yeah,
I'll let
yeah.
them know that there's
Yeah.
something like this.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was saying, that, I mean, people have business ideas, but where are the spaces to showcase and
Yeah.
say, Silapa guys,
Yeah.
can we get assistance?
Yeah.
That I love.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I love.
yeah. Shout out, guys. Nizvele Begumandi. It was so
Guys,
amazing.
when this is Barcelona, I
check
so
your
campaign against this time.
Yeah. Shout out, man. We love you so much.
And thank you for having me
Thank
and listening
you.
in.
Thank you for coming. Really, really appreciate it. And it's one of the conversations that I've always wanted to have. But you have to choose who do you have these kind of conversations with, because you don't want to be found in the wrong place. And especially myself, who doesn't want to be involved in any types of politics. But I love politics. I really love
It's
politics.
an interesting thing.
Yeah. I watch politics every day, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't think that I'm such a person.
Yes.
I have certain YouTube channels that I watch for American content, where I see what's really happening and all the politics. One of my favorite people that used to give me good insights was Trevor Noah.
Oh,
And
okay.
he stopped working there, and I was like, who else is gonna give me this one?
Also, you like the politics that side.
I love international politics.
Okay, they're quite different though.
Yeah,
Very money
very,
based.
very
and-
different. Very
But
power driven.
But we're getting there, Nat.
Yeah.
Like 20.
Yeah.
We're on 2024 now. 2050.
Because yesterday I just watched Vladimir's meeting with his delegates, and they were talking about the attack, the supposedly attack that was done on their nuclear plant, and it's now escalating. And he was saying it's because of the enemies. The enemies are using Ukraine as a weapon to fight against Russia, which is gonna get crazy.
Look, 2050, politics are going to be different even in South Africa. I mean, even now, money now plays a very huge part in politics. I mean, you can't be... And that is what is also causing this corruption, because now you can't be in that game if you can't give people money.
Yeah.
So that's why now every politician wants to have money. They want to accumulate as much. So it means business is going to go to politics.
Yeah.
So your activists, and that's what my worry is about. Your activists are just on the sidelines.
Yeah.
They'll just be used sometimes to say, okay, to get people, let's put one or two activists so that at least, but at the end of the day, business will be running the show.
Crazy. Shout out to people again, man. We love you so much. We need
Thank
to close
you.
it right now. It's your boy Conf, man. I'm out here in Cape Town, Guguleto, Barcelona, Matyocho, Mvenkla, in a poll. I wish I would stop saying this in the next 5 years. South Africa, man, we're out.
Bye.